All right, everybody, and we are live. I am super, super excited about this one. I'm just going to be honest with you. As if for those of you who may or may not know me, I think everyone does. My name is Tish. I have a channel that looks at everything basically that I want to learn more about, and that can be history, mystery, tales. And I'm going to tell you, one of my boxer dogs is normally wanders in, so dog tails included. And my guest is the Clumsy Clairvoyant. We actually met, I think, on the expert stream, but then maybe on some other streams as well. So I'm really excited. I'm going to greet some people real quick and then let you introduce yourself. John D, hello. The timer is taking forever. Yeah, if you're waiting on something, it does take longer, doesn't it? It's amazing how that can happen. Allegra, hello as usual. Rian, hey friends. Yep. Darth Hideous, welcome. Thank you for joining. May the Fae, Linda B. Looks like we have a lot of people in the chat. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to let her introduce herself. We're going to talk a little bit about tarot cards in general because I'll be honest, it's something I've been very curious about, but there's a lot of number one, misconceptions, but then number two, kind of how the process works. So, if you don't mind, I will let you introduce yourself and then we'll go
All
from there.
right. Sounds good. Hello, everybody. I am Clumsy Clairvoyance. You guys can call me Clumsy. Um, and I have a channel here on YouTube, and I think you are right. I believe we did meet at Experts Chat, if I'm not mistaken. However, though, I've seen you. I think I'm Scott's before. You're a mod over there, aren't you?
Yes, yes, I show
Okay.
up all kinds of places normally. It's funny. I think before I ever did a live, I was on a ton of lives with other people. So, but yeah, I think we've seen each other in a few places. So, which is awesome.
Right. And a special love. I made sure everyone last night for my live stream knew we were going live today on the channel. So I
Thank
do see some
you.
Team Clumsy people in here. So thank y'all for showing up and
Awesome.
supporting not just me, but also Tish. And Tish, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited. But yes, so I'm Clumsy Clairvoyance. I have a channel here on YouTube, and I go live, I say, around 4 to 5 nights a week. It's usually late at night. Everyone kind of messes with me about how late I do go live. But there's but there is also I do have like uploads and stuff like that of pre-recorded videos as well, but it's all things tarot readings late at night. However, though, my channel has really started to dwarf into like spiritualism and kind of just self-improvement in general in our like as the time has gone on, which I really really just love, because I feel
Right.
like it really kind of speaks to tarot in general. Like you said, there's a lot of misconceptions about tarot. It's not all about reading the future, and it's not all hocus pocus, so to speak.
Yeah, I was
However,
doing some research like before you came on because I was really excited. I've had my cards read twice. Once was, well, not really card, or more like a card, I guess is the way you phrase it. You did a
okay,
quick reading on the expert. I had one
yes,
years ago, and if anyone from Nashville remembers the old spaghetti factory that used to be there, I'm sure the expert can tell you there was a lady there that did a lot, and I only had mine done once by her, and we might
uh
talk
huh,
about that a little bit later. Was really surprised when I was looking at it that it's more than just a telling the future or connecting to your past. That some people actually use them as meditation as well as
mm-hmm.
just kind of self improvement. So, can you talk a little bit about what brought you into it and kind of what is
Okay,
your approach?
okay, so I have a really kind of a funny story about how I became clumsy clairvoyance, and I almost told it on my live the other night, and then something happened to where I didn't tell it. So this is perfect timing. So how I got into tarot, it's really it's kind of a funny story. So about six or so years ago, it was while I was still bartending. Um, I happened to be cleaning up the backspace of this really huge kind of industrial style building that I was bartending at the time. Okay, and
Okay.
they had so much trash and stuff like that in the back of this back bar area, and I happened across a really old pair of like Spanish style playing cards. Okay, but
Okay.
they did not look like a standard deck, and I could tell they were kind of tarot esque in what they were, and I was like, huh. I wonder if these are tarot cards, right? And I asked the owner, I was like, what do you want me to do with all this stuff? He's like, oh, throw it out. I'm like, well, can I have these? And he
Wait,
was like,
no,
yeah,
I'm
go.
not throwing that out. They're cool.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
all, I know, I'm okay. Can I have these? And he's all, sure, go ahead. I don't care. And I took him home that night. And that's kind of where the name Clumsy Clairvoyance comes in. Not only because I am clumsy, but it just like was just like a freak accident that I came into contact with these cards. And I took them home with me. And then it's been tarot ever since. So
Yeah, I think if there was a contest for the clumsiest person on the planet, I think I would probably have you beat just a little bit there.
I don't know.
So,
I don't know.
do
I
you?
don't know because I'm fairly clumsy. As some of the people in here that are there during my life, I'm like,
Yeah,
shit, crap, darn it. I'm always dropping stuff and, shaking the camera every now and then. So I don't know.
my
I
husband
don't
jokes that
know.
he wants to put me in a bubble just because a way to get hurt, I'm going to get hurt. So your first deck was found, as you said, you found him, but I was reading too that the person who creates the cards and the person that does the artwork may or may not be the same. And of course, you wouldn't know on ones you found. But I was also reading where people think that the cards need to be given to you or you can't
Okay,
select them
yeah, that's
yourself.
that's
So,
a
can you talk a little
super
bit about that?
yeah. So that's one of those big misconceptions with tarot deck, and it is that's something I would really love to dive into is where that kind of started.
Yes,
But
absolutely, please.
it's a huge misconception. They say that your first tarot deck has to be given and
Okay.
not bought, and that's just completely inaccurate. Um, I always tell people who are looking for a deck of cards, it is always good to start with kind of like your standard RWS deck, which is your Rider Waite Smith.
Okay.
However, there's still so many different kinds of RWS like renditions. Like this one, for example, is a grayscale version. Okay, so
Okay.
the colors are just a little bit more grayer than
Well,
usual.
and the colors have some significance, right?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
They do.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so that's a big misconception is that if you want to start, getting into tarot, that someone has to give you your first deck. Not at all. I always say just go with whatever deck you are most like drawn to. However, I recommend going with a deck that is at least gone or kind of rendition of at least that standard RWS because you'll have your 21 court or your 22 court or major arcanas, and then you'll have your other minor arcanas under that. So
Well, and Lady Magdala just put, she still has the first deck she was drawn to. And when I watched some other YouTube channels and I watched several of your live streams, I've got a couple of questions. But is it something that anyone can do? Is it something you have to be very empathic to do? What do you think draws people to the tarot?
okay, so I will say this: I think that anyone can read tarot. I do. I'm going
Okay.
to say that. However, can everyone practice tarot or be I would say even yes to that. However, there are some people who they just might not vibe it in a way to where that they're feeling like they're getting the interpretation right or something like that.
So when you say
That's an
read and when you say practice, what's the difference between if I want to read it or if I want to practice, I think is the word you used.
Yeah, more
What's
like
the
a
difference between those
practitioner.
two?
So when I say if you want to go into practice with it, so I would say if it's something you're doing for a living, perhaps,
Okay.
versus something you're just kind of messing around with. You read for yourself, you read for your friends. However, though, I feel like anyone can really do tarot. I do. Another misconception is that you have to know the exact meaning of every single card. Okay,
Okay.
and having said that, though, I think it's very, very important to know the basic meanings of each card. I do feel like that fundamental knowing
So do
is
the meanings
important.
vary with the decks or is there like one core that all of them have? Because I was seeing where
Yes.
like 22 seems to be a number that stays pretty consistent with the decks, but then there can be some variations.
So your standard deck is no matter what is going to have hold on, let's see if it says it on here, but it's going to be
Okay.
78 cards. Okay, so
Okay.
this would
Okay.
be like your standard deck. All right, but your standard will have 78 cards no matter what. There's a lot of decks that come out nowadays though where the creators like to throw in an extra card here and there. Okay,
Okay.
like I have a deck where and Darth just won it on like our last giveaway because I do giveaways about like once every other week, and he won a deck where the creator has like 2 extra cards in the deck, and one is Happy Squirrel, and the other one is Mad Squirrel. So
Okay.
if you, so that's something to keep in mind too. If you're just learning tarot, maybe keep those 2 out during, while you're learning, and then bring it back in as you start to get more familiar with the tarot. There's also a misconception about tarot versus oracle cards. Okay,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
an oracle,
You stole the question,
yes.
the next question from me. So, what's the difference between those two?
Okay, so no matter what, your standard tarot deck should be based on your standard tarot deck. 78 cards, um,
Okay.
22 majors, and the rest minor arcanas. Okay, but with the oracle deck, for instance, I have some oracle decks that have 44 cards. I have some oracle decks that only have 15 cards. There's no
Okay.
rules. It's all about the creator and what the creator does with each card for an oracle deck. So an
Okay.
oracle deck is
Okay.
strictly a creator based type of deck. Okay. And so let's say I have an oracle deck where there's 44 cards. It's nature related. Chances are that creator will have a meaning for each card. It'll come with a little guidebook. However, though, oracle cards are a lot more, leeway as in regards to interpretation than you would say maybe your standard tarot deck. But I love them
Okay.
both. But I am a tarot originalist. But I
Okay.
do love a really good oracle deck. I cannot lie.
So you said earlier, and we talked about misconceptions. So I'm one of these people. I'm very open to everything and know a little bit about most things, but definitely claim I learn every day. And we're only one document away from finding out everything we know is different, right? If
Yes,
there
totally.
were, what are the top misconceptions? I know the one of the girls I was talking to last week that does it. She grew up real Orthodox Catholicism, and I grew up in a very, I'm going to call it traditional Southern Christian variation. And of course, there
Mm-hmm.
were a lot of teachings that way. But if we were to talk about what do you think the most misconceptions would be, or people that see it as even entertainment or watch them in the movies, what would you like people to know as your if you had an elevator speech, so to speak?
I think the first thing would be for me. Okay, and this I'm gonna say kind of hit me a little bit recently, like in the last year or two.
Sure.
Um, a really I guess conception would be that tarot is all fake. It's all fake.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And that might be sound really generic in nature. However, though, you'd be surprised. And the circles we've kind of gone in, like LawTube.
Hmm.
I've been in a lot of true crime little circles, and man, they have a lot of shit to talk about tarot readers. I've noticed, and
Right. Right.
so that could be for a number of different reasons. However, though, it's the
Can it
misconception
could
is
it
that it's
be
fake and
faked?
there's
But could
nothing
it
real
be
to it.
faked? Could it be faked? I guess is the question. So,
Oh yes, of
or is it
course.
just a misinterpretation of something that somebody's seeing or feeling, or can it
Mhm.
truly? And how would you know the difference if,
Oh,
say, I was in front of you and I'm a layman, obviously, right? So how
okay.
would I know the
Hmm.
difference if you're really giving me a reading or if you're faking it?
Okay, so a really good example. It's such a good example too. It was in the news lately that TikToker who's getting sued.
Yes, with the university professor.
Yes,
That
and she
okay,
is supposedly a tarot reader. Okay, now
okay,
when I saw her TikToks, I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" So here's an example, right? So she's sitting in her chair and she's like, "Okay, Ace of Swords. This is the
okay,
sword that she used to slit her throat." You know what I mean? Like it just goes off on a tangent about this sword, and this is how I know and stuff like that. When if I'm
okay,
looking at the Ace of Swords, I'm going, "Huh?" And yes, tarot is definitely open to interpretation. Each reader,
okay,
you will not have a reader tell you the exact same reading each time. However, though, if I'm looking at the Ace of Swords, I'm just say this is a time for open communication. Make sure that you're being open and honest with yourself and others. You know what I mean? There's some general things I'm going to be hitting, but an example is someone who takes like 1 or 2 cards is just going off on a tangent, like, yes, I see this, this, and this,
okay,
and making almost like a whole elongated story that doesn't seem to fit.
okay. So, what other misconceptions would you like to kind of clear up?
Okay, another one is that that tarot is all about reading your future and giving you a definite answer about the future.
Okay.
Okay. So what I always tell people when they want to know what's going to happen with this, I steer on the side of how is it looking so far? Okay.
Hmm.
Well, meaning, and I tell everybody in my chat, there's always the power of choice. Nothing takes away from your choice. Okay. No matter what I
Right.
tell you in
Right.
these
Right.
cards, you have your individual choice to make your own choices in life. Okay. So I
Right.
give, what I like to think is I give a
So you
really
don't think
good
it's pre-written. You think it's definitely an if this then that based on what I
fluid.
choose to
Yeah.
do with it, whatever is in front of me at the time. Would that be a fair
Yes.
statement?
That is a fair statement. Now, however,
Okay.
I will say there are readings I have where I get a really strong, like, to the point where I'm like, I almost want to say 100% yes, this is going to happen, but I will
Okay.
still err on the caution and say, of course, you still have your individual choice and, whatnot. However, though, there is certain readings I've had where that, if they're asking a certain question, or there's something's been shown to me, as for future events, it'll look real strong. However, though, like I said, no matter what, you still have your individual choice.
So has there
Everybody
ever
does.
been, like you said, one that you or some that you come across that you're like, yeah, I feel like this is 100%, but it might be perceived as the person that you're reading as being something negative or upsetting. Do you ever hold back on that? How do you handle that when it's something that, and I'll give you kind of an example if that's okay to talk about what I'm to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I said I had mine written, read, and we're talking. My son is. We're talking 30 years ish ago. It was a woman who was out in front of the spaghetti factory, the Expert, if you remember where that is, or was on
Mm-hmm.
Second Avenue before Second Avenue got blown up. Um, she had done it for a couple of my friends. I think she was charging like $10. I can't remember. I
Uh
get up
huh.
there and she gives her money, my money to me, and she won't read me at first. And my friends went on, and I stopped back and I said, "Hey, what did she see?" And she said that an October mail would blow my world apart and it wasn't going to be good. And I just kind of dismissed it because figured it was for fun. And something
Mm-hmm.
actually did happen to a friend of mine who was born in October. So that's why I asked. Seems to be, we all want good
Interesting.
news. We all want good news, right? That's what we want is good news. But
Yes.
if it's
Yes.
something that
Yes.
seems to be, and I'll go ahead and say it was my best friend, he passed away shortly after
Oh
that.
wow.
But if it's something that could be perceived as negative or upsetting, how do you handle that?
It's a really good question because every night messages come through, especially a lot of times, even mostly in general readings, I'll have some really serious messages that come through. And you kind of take that deep breath, and I always try to soften that blow. However, for me, it's not just about giving like maybe potential bad news or telling people that bad news. A lot of times most people do know what's bad is going on in their life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
um in regards to something that might be coming up, I just try to soften the blow. However, though, I always say, I'm gonna be honest with you. I gotta tell you how I see it. However, like I said, you still have the power of choice. I could, you take what resonates, leave the rest. But I do it as nicely and as kindly and softly as I can. However, I still gotta deliver that message, and I can't. For me, I'm like I can't lie about what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, and how I'm vibing.
So
And
what is
some
the
people,
difference between that and say
mhm.
being, and not to interrupt you, but what's the difference between that when you're reading the tarot and say an actual medium, or is it all the same? Is
Okay, yeah,
medium, psychic, and tarot card reader
no,
interchangeable, or
yes.
are those all different?
To me it's extremely different. So I
Okay.
use my cards as a form of divination. Okay. Now a medium there's a few different types of mediums. Okay, so let's think of a
Okay.
physical medium. A physical
Okay.
medium can actually see dead people in the room. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's a huge difference. That's someone who is not even practicing necessarily divination. That literally could be something that they've had since childhood.
And
Okay.
that's not always where they've made the choice to do it. It's something that they
Exactly.
can't control, correct? Okay.
Exactly.
Separating
Exactly.
fact from what we see in movies and all of that. So that's why I'm
Yes.
kind of asking it that way.
100%. So, but yeah, so I would say the difference between mediums and, people who, like I said, I use this as a form of divination. There's a pretty huge difference. And like you said, mediums can't, not necessarily all of them have chosen to take that route. I've heard of some mediums even, shutting down their abilities at a certain point because it became too overwhelming,
It become
or they
too
were
hard. I
too.
can imagine that that would be very, I would think too, if you really saw them in the way that I've heard some people explain it,
Yeah,
it could
it'd
be
be terrifying.
difficult to not disassociate, number 1, from life in general, and then number 2,
Yes,
to know the difference between what you're seeing, what you're
what's real, what's
dreaming,
not.
and then
Yeah,
what's reality. I would think that that would get a little difficult after a while.
and think about dealing with that as a child, because a lot of mediums have seen these things since they were children. So
Okay,
picture as a child having going through that, that's really traumatic for a lot of them.
gotcha. So what is something else you would want to kind of dispel? For one thing, I can tell based on my research, there's nothing evil about it,
Oh yeah,
per
nothing at
se.
all.
Yeah.
If anything, tarot is really relatable. I would say another common misconception, and this could do with readers and people who also get readings. Okay,
Okay.
sometimes I will get a person coming to me with the same question within like an hour, and they'll ask it 5 different ways, and 5 different ways they'll still get the answer they don't want. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
so no matter how many times I shuffle, no matter how many times I'm flipping these cards for you, and sometimes you're just not going to get the answer you want.
Okay.
So I would
Gotcha.
say a common misconception for those who actually read or those who get readings a lot is that they think they're going to get a different answer next time around,
Yeah.
and especially when it comes to some real important things. And it's like,
Kind of like kids
yeah,
asking, "Do I really have to go to bed?" It's like, "Yes, you
right.
do."
It's like, yeah, you
Yeah,
kind of
that kind of thing.
do. You
Yeah.
kind of do.
So, do you find yourself more accurate when you do it for yourself, or when someone does it for you, or when you do it for someone else? So, what feels more natural as you're doing the readings?
Um,
Or are they
as
all the same?
time, um, well, you know what, my opinion has shifted from that, because
Okay.
I feel as though, and a lot of readers start out reading for themselves. You know,
Okay.
they're reading their own cards and stuff like that. However, as years have gone by, I rarely read for myself, and I do that kind of on purpose. And it's because I always kind of make the joke in my lives. I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what they say
I
about
would
this.
think
You know
too,
what I
it'd be
mean?
kind of something like trying to be your own doctor, that there's some things that
Yes.
you tend to think you know everything about, so you would put too much weight on, or worse, ignore. Or so, do you get yours read by other people, or do you just?
Yes, I will.
Okay, okay.
Yes,
Oh,
I
you
do.
do.
I
Okay,
completely do. If there's something kind of just, if I'm just shuffling and just kind of wanting to see the energy around me, I don't mind doing that at all. Or if I'm doing a tarot exercise, like for meditation, or if I'm actually doing an exercise, like a different spread or something like that, I'll do my
okay.
own.
Haley Mouse said, "My mom stopped getting readings from me when she didn't like what was being said. She's stubborn and doesn't like being told she might need to change her point of view." Yeah, I can imagine that that comes up a lot. So when you said for meditation versus an actual reading, what's the difference between those two things?
Okay, Um, so if I would even you could call it you could even call it tarot magic, or tarot
Okay.
meditation, whatever
Okay.
it could be interchangeable. I know a lot of tarot practitioners who use tarot in their magic, um, are use yeah, that use tarot in their magic. However, so for tarot meditation, for example, let me pull a card. All right,
Okay.
let's say I've been having a hard time moving forward on something, okay? An idea, a project, or just feeling stuck in my life, okay? I would take a
Okay.
card like this, like the Chariot, okay? And
Okay.
the Chariot is a card in the Major Arcana that represents the sign of Cancer, but
Okay.
also represents forward movement and the vehicle for forward movement,
So if
okay?
you got that card and you said that it represents forward movement, or I think you said the Cancer, how do you know which one that is? Is it just something that's a feeling you get? Is that how
A
that
lot of
works?
times it could depend on the other cards surrounding it. If it's a single card, depending on if they have a question or not. Let's say they're like, "Hey, am I going to get a new job soon?" Right?
Okay. Okay.
Chariot to me, that's going to be a yes. You are okay. You're
Okay.
on the forward path. So it would really depend on the question. If there's no question, and let's say I'm just doing a card for the day for someone, okay? I see the Chariot. I would it could represent both. You know what I mean? It could
Yeah.
represent the perhaps the person I'm reading for is a Cancer, okay?
Okay.
But I would give
Ah,
the
okay.
interpretation that I feel
Okay.
for that person, you know? And then there's other
Um,
people who say, who's my future partner going to be? Hey, it might be a Cancer.
yeah, it
If
might not
the
be a
Chariot
good thing to
pops
have
up.
your next future partner may not be good. Lady Magdalene, I find it really
Exactly.
hard to do my own because my mind tends to work ahead to how I'm going to lay it out and it messes with everything. I
Yes,
can kind of see that.
a lot of tarot readers have that issue. Yeah, exactly, because it'll mess with their head, or there's just so many different reasons. So
So is it easier if somebody says they want, say, a general read of cards or questions? Because I already set up just so you guys know I'm gonna be vulnerable. I already in her PayPal information, if you ever want to send a tip, or if you want to get yours read, are in the description below. But is it better to go in with a question, or is it better to go in and ask about general knowledge? So which one is easier, or does it even matter?
I like them both.
Okay.
I like both. I got to be honest. However, though, I feel like if there's something like I try to tell people too, like because I have a lot of people, a lot of my regulars, like, oh, just pull the cards for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And every now and then I'm like, well, let's ask a question, and I'll ask one for them, right? You know, like just random, like, hey, what are some of the really good qualities about this person that this person should be aware of, or something like that, you know? Or what's going to happen within the next 30 days, or what's happening in romance. So I do encourage people, if there's something in their life in particular, like a certain area of their life that they're really feeling like they really want that knowledge or a little
Okay.
bit more input, to really just, put that out there.
So Dorothea said the cards usually know what you need to hear. You don't really need to ask. I'm guessing that's ask questions. Okay.
Yes.
And if anyone does
So,
have a question, if you don't mind, I'm going to tell them to put it
of
in the
course, yes, yes,
comments,
yes.
and we'll get to as many as we can because I want to be respectful of
Totally.
your time. So I've noticed, and it may be just the couple of live streams I've watched, that you ring a bell sometimes at the beginning. What does that bell ring do?
So so you have noticed that. That's funny.
Yep.
I've had a bell before, and then I also have this. So this is a singing bowl.
I
I'm
have
sure a
one of.
lot of
I
you
have actually. I think I had that exact bowl. To be honest with you.
do. You really?
Yep, sitting back. Hang on. I'll turn my camera off for a second.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. Let's see. You should be able to hear it, I think.
Okay, let's see. So this is the one that I have.
Oh, that's a nice fancy one. Any singing bowl will do though, or a bell. It's a quick. So you do a quick.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
a quick cleanser of the energy, a quick cleanser of the environment, and it
Okay.
can help you get in tune, with your surroundings, all of that stuff. I always, for me, before I go live, I do a little prayer, a little prayer
Okay.
to myself, to my guardian angels, etc. Um, for protection and all that. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, this is mine that I
It's
got a
got
few years
symbols
ago.
on it too,
It's
huh?
got symbols and it's got a similar cushion that it sits on. I'm not gonna say
Oh,
I'm great at it yet. I've kind of been working with it just a little while. I got it for Christmas. So
oh yeah,
Haley Mouse
they're great.
said um love singing bowls to realign my chakras, and crystals are my favorite. So I do want to talk to you about crystals at some other point, but I feel like that's such a big thing on its own. So chakras, for someone who has heard of it but doesn't understand it, what does that actually mean?
So chakras, date back all, to Indian, to India, the region over there, and it's about kind of the spiritual connection throughout your whole physical body, but it's through each part of your body that connects through it. Okay,
Okay.
and so for instance, we could start at the root chakra. That is the first chakra. It also is represented by the color red.
Okay.
The root chakra would be two different areas. Would be either the tips of your toes, like your feet, or
Okay.
your tailbone, right at the spine. Okay,
Okay.
and you start. with the root chakra because that is your grounding. That keeps you grounded to the earth. It keeps you, in protection, and it keeps you stable
Okay.
throughout your experience through the other chakras.
Okay.
And then so
So
on and
it's
so forth.
about
So let's
balancing
say,
yourself to the earth. Would that be or to the earth?
well, it's a each chakra has its own kind of meaning or own elevation.
Okay. Okay.
And as you go through, so you start at your spine, okay, so you start really physical, but as you start to go up, you go through the heart chakra, okay, and then you
Okay.
go to your throat, and then you get to
Okay.
your third eye, which is right in between the eyeballs, okay.
Right here. Right.
And
Or yeah.
yes,
Okay.
right there, and that's
Okay.
when you start to shift from your physical body to your spiritual self.
Okay.
So you start to elevate almost each level through your chakras. So let's say you're someone who isn't really, you feel so you're not being spiritually awakened or aware. Um, you could use tarot to help. You could use literally tarot, meditation, however you want to put it, to help open that third eye.
Okay. And from
And you
getting
would
your original
use,
cards, where do you, I'm assuming I've seen you have a couple different decks. So do you get
mhm.
them anywhere? Do you, I mean, is there a certain deck that how do you choose what deck of cards you're going to use?
um, it's really just off of instinct, what I'm feeling, what I'm vibing at the time.
Okay.
Um, Also, there is a lot of like Kickstarter. I don't know if y'all have heard of Kickstarter, Etsy. They've got great decks like from personal creators. However, though, they can be really expensive, like ridiculously expensive. Like the tarot deck I want right now is like $80, and I'm like, $80. I'm like, come on,
Is that
So I
because
will
of like
also
the illustration, or is it just because that's what they, I mean,
it could be
I
a few
guess
different
is there a
reasons.
quality difference in the cards, so
Yes,
to
a
speak?
lot of times if you have there's certain creators of certain decks too. There's some really high up there creators, like Circo Marchetti. He's an Italian creator. You can
Okay.
find a lot of his decks on Amazon right now. However, though, if you get like his Etsy style, if you go to his Etsy shop, he's got like more like grand, kind of very beautiful, luxurious cards. They're really, really nice. I've seen some
Does the
people get them
date of the cards make
personalized.
a difference? Like if they're something that you find, say, and I've seen some before in we used to have a Land of Odds antique store here. I've seen them there. Does the age of the deck itself matter, or is that something that
Um,
just doesn't have
no,
any effect?
because I will say this. So anything after 1902, in
Okay.
regards to your standard deck, you're always going to see an RWS almost 9 times out of 10. You'll
Okay.
see either RWS, which is your Rider Waite Smith. There's also a Marcelli's deck, which is a little bit more old school. And then there's something called Thoth Tarot or a Thoth deck, which is
Okay.
much, much different meanings to every different tarot card. But they are
Okay.
based on tarot, and they were created by Aleister Crowley, is the one who created Thoth Tarot.
Okay. The
So he
expert,
was
our
like more
friend,
1920s.
our mutual friend, what is the proper title for at Clumsy Clairvoyance? I call her Solitaire because of Jane Seymour's character in James Bond, but I don't think that's the correct title. That's funny. Of course. James Bond, I'm with you. And let's see. Um I had a chakra cleansing before and the poor lady. Okay, somebody's apparently answering for readings. It looks like we've got a few. May the Face said she's gotten hers at big bookstores, mythical shops, Etsy,
Yeah.
Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
You can get them anywhere as long as you clean and concentrate them before using. So,
Oh, what a good point.
what does cleanse and concentrate?
Such a good point.
Consecrate.
So
I'm sorry. Consecrate. You hear my southern accent coming through there loud and clear. So, what is that process, and what does that look
So
like?
cleansing is really that is the most important. Okay, so anytime you
Okay.
see any of my unboxing videos on my
Okay.
channel, I'm like gung ho. Make sure you cleanse your deck. Make sure you cleanse your deck, everyone, before you start using them. And it's just a way to make sure that energy is clear before you start using them, because a lot of times it's coming from a warehouse or it's coming from here, and it goes through all these different hands before it gets
Right.
straight to
Right.
you right on your desk. And there's so many different ways to cleanse a deck. You can
So, is that something you do mentally, or is it something that you do physically?
you could
How does that
do
work?
any and above. Okay, so you could use
Okay.
sage. Okay, you could use
Okay.
black salt or any salt. Okay, however, though, let's
Okay.
say I ain't got nothing, right? If I don't have anything, what I'll do is I'll take my deck and I'll pound it really hard, knock on it, or
Okay.
you could clap right in front of the deck, but really, 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 really loud. And it's just kind of vibrational. It's clearing any energy that has been picked up along the way to what it's got to you.
So what does consecrate mean, or is that the same
That's
thing?
that's more kind of like getting connected to
Okay.
your cards, holding on to them. Like some people, I will smell. Like for me, I like to sniff my cards. That might
Okay.
sound really weird, but I really always want to know the smell of a deck. So I like kind of,
Okay.
you put it's just you holding them, you breathing on them, you kind of, rubbing your hands together, connecting with them, sometimes meditating with them. Some people will actually say a little prayer for a certain deck, to have,
Okay.
all the meanings come through accurately and fairly, whatever the case may be. It's just kind of like a personal connection from yourself to your deck.
So Haley Mouse brought up another question I had earlier. She said it's quite expensive to get your own cards made. That's why bespoke ones are so expensive on Etsy.
Yes.
How do you decide? I guess the question would be, can anyone make a deck, or is that something that you feel like they have to have a certain, obviously be an artist of some point, some sort? But
Um,
does it matter who made the deck as far as the quality of the reading? I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Um, as far as tarot goes, no, because as long as
Okay.
it's because like I said, you always cleanse your deck ahead of time anyway. Um, and anything that let's say you had a creator who's like really evil or something behind the scenes, right? Who made a tarot deck, right? Who
Okay.
created one and mass produced it, right? I've had people ask me stuff like that. Cleansing the deck will help feed that out. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's really just about for a standard deck, I would say, or for a tarot deck, you're gonna get your standard. It's all good. However, for oracle decks, you might want to be a little bit more picky and choosier.
So would it
Because
be
they're
fair to say it's not that the card is it channels it, but it's actually the energy that dictates the card
yeah, I said it's
versus
it's it's
okay.
also yep, it's also your reader.
Okay.
If your reader's energy is important as well. That's why, like I say, before I start every night, and everyone in my lives always make fun of me because I'm always late. But without fail, no matter what, I will always say a little prayer before I go live, no matter what, for protection, and to act as a almost as a medium during these readings to bring through clarification to others, but also
Right.
promote positivity without giving them false information. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that way my energy doesn't flow to you. Maybe I'm having a really bad day as a reader, right?
Okay.
If I'm having,
Okay.
maybe I'm having a real shit day, and then all of a sudden, all the cards are reflective in every single reading that anyone
So
I'm
they're
reading
reflecting
for.
you instead of reflecting the person you're reading for if you're not very careful.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Welcome, Lori Loves Montana, new member. Appreciate that as well. Thank
Lori, whoop
you.
whoop.
Dorothea's disclaimer: this is not legal, psychological, or medical advice. Please consult a mechanic, a chef, or a journalist. Absolutely, I will agree
I
with that
love it,
too.
Garth.
Um, Julie has a good question. GGB, I'm sorry, has a question. I need my glasses. They're somewhere around here. If the reader dislikes or is annoyed at who they are reading, how does that impact the reading? That is a really good question.
It is
How
a very
does
good
your
question.
thought about me or negative or positive or neutral, how does that impact the reading?
It will not impact it.
It will not. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I will make it a point, no matter what. Your reading is still your reading. So
Okay.
let's say I have
But
someone,
is that something that you have to intentionally do, or is that true of all readings?
you know what? I feel as though when you first start out with tarot, it might not be something you catch right away. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? After years, though, and reading for so many people, you will catch yourself. You know what I mean? You might go, oh, maybe that was
Okay.
me. You know what I mean? Maybe that was
Yeah.
my energy towards them, or like I said, having a bad day. It could be a number of different things. So that does come with experience. However, though, if you know it ahead of time, it's good. It's nice because then you can look out
Easier to
for it.
control. And what about
Exactly.
too, like, it seems like in the last, and I'm old, I'm just gonna go ahead and confess this. It seems like in the last, I'm gonna say 10-ish years, especially with some of us who are YouTube creators or in social media, there seems to be people are more comfortable with being mean than before and more comfortable with negativity or at least expressing it whenever they feel like it.
Hmm.
Have you felt any type of change in general, say in the overall of people when you're reading, or is it just kind of a perception based on being online or being on YouTube?
Um, so it's interesting too. If you look at YouTube and you look at certain readers, there's this wide variety, right? And then
Yes.
you have some readers um who are just like ruthless. Do you know what I mean? When they're
Yes.
delivering kind of a tough message. And like I said, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think I could be that, out there with it. Because for me, it's the number one important thing is that I can act as a medium to give them their truth, to give them answers and clarity. However, I still want to promote, some light and love to them and support. I feel like
Right.
is the biggest thing, or perhaps a answer to, or a suggestion to maybe an issue or a problem, or a way to go about things differently, a different a different view, so to speak, so that they're not drowning in the negative of maybe a reading.
Right.
And then you have some people at the exact opposite spectrum where every single card you get is positive no matter what. And I call that toxic positivity, to where it's
Right.
just like
Right.
they're giving you all this. It's like, this is fantastic. You know what that? And it's like, what? You know what I mean? You're thinking in your head, like, I'm going through the worst time
Do
of
you
my
think that
life.
they do that because they're concerned about how it's going to impact somebody like going forward after the reading, or is it just that they're
I think it's
spinning it
one or
positive?
two. It's one or two things. It could be that someone who just generally just is just wanting to promote that positivity and does not want to hurt anyone's feelings, or
Okay.
two, it's very trendy right now because it's all about
Right.
manifestation
Right.
and
Right.
manifesting. All you got to do is
Right.
manifest it. So that's another part of it that's very kind of gimmicky, or that that a lot of readers just get totally kind of caught up into, and it's just like, oh, come on, give me a break, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could go from either end of the spectrum, and it's good to have a good balance, in my opinion. I try to stay balanced, I try to stay neutral, and experience, I feel like, gives you that credibility as a reader too, when you can read for a diverse crowd. You know what I mean? It's good to go into
Okay.
different areas, go to different types of people, groups of people who aren't used to you, etc. And that's good too. It's all learning, and we should all. For me, spiritually, you should always be learning, growing, etc.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Absolutely.
even with tarot, it's the exact same
Yeah, I
thing.
think the minute you think you quote unquote know something is the second you're going to find out you really don't.
Yes,
Kat
I
Ninja asked something
100% agree.
interesting. I'd be interested to what attracts you or anyone to Dex. She wasn't really asking directly to us, but I that up. So the artist or the art that tends to make you decide that you want a deck.
I would say, if I had to put one on it, I would say more the art than the artist.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal. I'm looking for see if anyone has any questions. So, okay, so walk me through. I know the last time I just asked a question, but walk me through because walk me through what I need to do or ask or what do I need to know as the person that's wanting the cards read.
Okay, so I guess when you come into a reading, first thing you'd want to know is, um, what do you want to get out of the reading? That would be my top question.
Okay.
And if there's nothing specific, then that's okay too.
Well, I think for me, we being me, my husband, and me specifically, have been
Mm-hmm.
making several changes and taking on some new stuff. YouTube. I've only been on YouTube, actually in my own channel since maybe July.
Mm-hmm.
Got some things happening at work, some things happening with us, family and physical and that kind of thing. So I would just be curious to see what the cards say as far as are we on the right track? Are we way off? If that makes any
Just
sense.
Yes, that's totally
Yeah.
fine. So,
Yep.
what a good spread for this? Hold on, let me do this real quick. Would be
Okay.
I'm gonna do a elemental spread, which is kind of just like a cross, okay?
Okay.
And it'll cover kind of areas of work, love, things you're passionate about, like kind of some
Yep.
things in between too. Okay.
Work, love, health, I guess is where I'm
Yep.
work. Work, love, health. That's pretty much, and then creativity. I think is where I'm really making decisions now. So
All right.
yeah.
So I'm going to ask you to come in for this reading. And your spirit angels and guides come through for a reading for Tish.
Okay.
Mm.
And so what you're doing now is you're shuffling the deck. Is that for changing the energy, or is that for my benefit to see that the cards are random, or what is the purpose behind shuffling the
I'd
deck?
say it's for all of the above.
Okay.
All,
Okay.
all of the above reasons, really. And shuffling is fun.
Yeah, it is. It
But
is.
shuffling
Yeah.
kind of flows that energy through the cards as well. You have some people that, and everybody will shuffle differently, read cards differently. A lot of people just shuffle, cut the deck, and then start turning. Me, I personally, I wait for jumpers. So you'll see me start shuffling, and I'm gonna
Okay.
wait till these cards jump out
Okay.
because that's my cue that's the answer to certain questions or whatever's being asked,
Okay.
or your specific energy.
So the cards kind of, you don't really pick the cards as much as the cards decide which one are going to be picked.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
so again, as spirit guides come through, spirit angels and guides, please come through for Tish.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it's Ace to Mark. The sound of the deck being shuffled is very soothing, actually.
It is, right? I know I have
Yeah.
a lot of people that come in and they're like, tell me they fall asleep in my chat or fall asleep too. I'm like,
Well,
really?
I'll be honest, I'm always catching you on the replay, so I don't usually fall asleep, but because I'm really listening to what's going on with everybody.
Well,
But
yeah, if you're someone who does do that as well, that's totally fine.
okay.
You could leave a comment in the chat if you
Yes.
see like my stream up ahead of time, and
Okay.
I can give you a reading. You could go back and timestamp it. Go back to the timestamp
Oh,
live for it or
cool.
something like that.
Cool.
Because I have quite a
Um,
few people that are like, I just can't stay up for it, Sarah. I'm like, I know, I'm sorry.
Darth Idiot, I always try to fall asleep in the chat and never seem to manage it. Yeah.
Uh,
Insomniacs unite, right? I'm a diagnosed insomniac, so I can completely understand that. Although it's so funny when you're listening to one of the people in the law tube community, especially somebody like Joe, that you're asleep and then all of a sudden he gets excited and you're like, wait, where did that noise come from? So yeah,
right?
yeah,
Joe's
yeah.
great too. I
I
like Joe.
love
He's great.
Joe.
Okay, so we'll start with your North card, okay? And
Okay,
North would. So that's why I said this is elemental, but it's also almost like a compass spread. So we're going to start with North, which represents
okay,
things of stability in your life, your work, your job, your home. Okay.
okay,
So you got the card of Temperance, which is a really good card. It's kind of telling me that all things in the home coming up are going to remain solid. They're going to remain positive and fruitful.
okay,
Temperance is a great card too because she's so full of wisdom. If you look at the image, she's holding those two cups, and you can
okay.
see her transporting, water from one to the next to the
Well,
next.
and I'm going to ask some questions as we go, if that's okay. You said she, and I know that there's a female depiction on the card, but are the cards say male or female based on the artwork or the card, or is there certain cards that are male or female?
Well, in the traditional deck, you will have some that are traditionally male or female, but so many
Okay,
renditions of like RWS have been out nowadays that are just all inclusive, so they can
okay,
really
okay.
change.
That can really
Yeah.
change. Sorry to ask so many
So
questions, but I'm sure that
no,
there are
no, no,
some
don't.
in the chat
An
as well that are
interesting
like me.
thing.
They know just enough to be dangerous,
An
and want to know.
interesting thing about Temperance too is in a lot of people don't know this, but there are, I believe, three archangels that are represented in your standard tarot deck, and Temperance
Okay,
just happens to be one of them. So
okay, okay,
um so yeah, all things at home, they're going to remain stable, flowing well, and a lot of wisdom coming through. So if you're planning something, or also too, if you're like have a project coming up, like a home project, maybe wanting to move things around,
okay.
anything like that, it's all positive, it's all good. Same if this is work related, promotion even could be in store for you ahead. All
Okay.
right.
Yeah, work's been kind of interesting. My company is going through a promotion and a merger, and I feel very confident, but we don't know anything yet.
Oh
Um,
really?
but I
Yeah.
feel very
So
confident. And I feel I'm very. This is going to sound terrible, but I'm very confident in my abilities. I'm good at what I do. I know my stuff. I care about my people, but it's always nervous when you are going through where a company's combining with somebody else. So
yeah, and confidence is good, I think.
yeah,
I hear what you're saying though. Sometimes you're not trying to come
confidence
up
you
like,
have to
I know
work
I'm
at
getting
being good. Well, you got to
But
work at being good at your job, right? Whether no matter
yes,
what it is, if it's if you ask me to fix a ceiling, which I have to do too, my husband's going to work on that. I would have to work to be competent and confident with it, right? So, but
yes,
I've been in the
totally.
same business for about 30 years. So,
Yeah, so if
yeah.
you're looking at a possible promotion, me as your reader, I'm going to say that you're looking good. This is
Okay.
looking positive, you know. Okay, so then we go to the east, all right, and
Okay.
that represents
Do you always start with the north and then go to the
I do.
east?
Yes,
Okay.
I
Okay.
do. During a like a compass type reading or elemental, I always start. I go northeast. Never eat soggy waffles. That's how I do it. It's my own little thing,
Okay.
like on a
Okay.
compass,
Right.
northeast.
Right. Never go the other way. Yeah, that makes
That's how.
sense.
That's just something I do. Um, and then so for the east, which represents air, and you actually have an air card. Okay, east is
Okay.
going to be everything that you communicate with others. Your communication, your social kind of environment. That could also indicate work relations.
Okay.
Queen of Swords. Okay,
Okay.
this is interesting. I like this too. It's kind of encouraging you to stay stern with others too, because the Queen of Swords can
Okay.
be a little bit of an intense card.
Okay.
She's traditionally she's known as kind of like the Black Widow in tarot, right? However, she gets a bad rap, but this is all about being able to communicate clearly, sternly, but efficiently.
Okay.
Okay, so that's showing to me that as long as you're still doing that, in your communications with others and you're being open, honest, but also being direct. I feel like being direct is the hugest thing coming through. As long as
Yeah.
you're being direct in your communication with others, whether it's business or social, everything's gonna go positive there. Okay.
Yeah, and direct is never my problem. It's usually trying to make sure that I'm not so direct that I
Really.
try not to hurt people's feelings, but I don't feel like I'm doing them any favors if they ask me what if you ask me what I think, I'm going to tell you what I think. I probably won't unless you ask me, or I think you're heading into a brick wall. I'll make sure I tell you that. But
Hmm.
yeah, that kind of
Well,
try.
and this could be a time coming up too where you need to kind of keep that about yourself, or that's going to come into play somehow.
Okay.
You being able to be in that position, to because like you said, you're already kind of that way. Sometimes you feel like you're too direct.
Yeah.
There could be something coming up to where that's really needed. So, and then
Okay.
we'll go south. Now we're gonna go south. This is all about like your passions, things that are flourishing in your life, or creativity,
Okay.
business ideas, side projects, anything like that. So you got the Ace of Swords. Ace of Swords is like your perfect card. This is all about, let's say you're trying to build a social media up, or you're trying.
Which I
Well,
am.
aces.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Are
am.
you okay?
Yeah, I'm
So
trying to. I pivoted my channel originally. When I came on, I got into. I had people have always told me I need to have a YouTube channel for my dogs. I have 4 boxers. You'll see one of them around
oh,
here somewhere. They're
oh, they're
nuts.
all
Like,
boxers.
they're all boxers. I've had a boxer
How
since,
cute.
my dad brought one back from Germany when he got out of the military. So that's how I got a boxer. But I kept feeling drawn to do more things. My husband was a detective, my father, an attorney and a judge. So I feel very, not law tube type thing, but more like stories.
Uh
Last
huh.
week, I did one on a 3-year-old girl that went missing in Tennessee that I happened to be there when she allegedly was reported missing by her mom. So I'm doing more stories and more that type of thing. So I've definitely done a content pivot here recently.
Yeah, I was in your chat last week. So, and
Yep.
that was a sad story too.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, the hope is that someone saw something they don't remember or may know something now, or
Yeah.
someone has, the 23andMe is always interesting. Now the way we can do genetics, because I'm really hoping somebody knows an answer to what actually happened to her. But yeah, that's what I mean is I've been around things like that my entire life. I used to be a paralegal for my father. It's not law, it's more the story that I'm interested in. So
That's
I've done some
awesome.
pivot there, and it's nerve-wracking because the dogs are easy, right? They're clowns. So, as long as I have a camera, they can do the rest, but
And the ace too is representative of this kind of being new or new to you.
mhm,
However,
very
it's
new.
positive. So if you're like kind of hesitating, I'd say don't hold back. Go ahead and just do it.
Okay, okay.
Also, I had a boxer growing up. My brother had a boxer. Her name was Sadie. She was so cute.
Yeah, my first one was, name was, Megan and, Ginger, and then we have a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 2-year-old that's about to make me damage my calm because it's almost like the child forgets not he thinks everything that needs to be outside, including my Christmas tree. And if it's not nailed down, he's going to take it through the dog door. But
What
yeah,
a cute
those
name,
are all.
Ginger, for a doggy. I love it. That's so
Yeah,
cute.
she was they were trying to explain it to me before he brought her home, the color, and the
Hmm.
closest thing I could find was Ginger in the spice cabinet. I said, "Is it this?" And then they just decided to name her Ginger, which is really cool. So
That's so
yeah,
cute. I
monsters
love it.
do have a lot of energy, and they are insane. And people are like, "How do you have four?" Trust me, having two is easier than one, and they keep each other young. So anyway, I digress.
Yeah, they have the cutest faces, though. They
They
have
do,
cute
and they're all
faces.
different. They're all different. It's crazy
They
how
are.
different they are.
They're super.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking about my brother's dog growing up, and she was such a cutie.
yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the West, which is your
Okay,
emotions, all things emotional related. Okay, so Ace of Wands. This is interesting.
okay,
So this can come through two different ways. This could be that you've been feeling quick to anger or quick to irritate recently, but this could
okay,
also mean quick to become impassioned about something. However, though, when it comes to your emotions, I do like this is still overall positive. It's really about kind of staying true to your authentic self, and it will really emotionally kind of keep you fulfilled, and I feel like it'll keep your relationship with your husband fulfilled as well. Like there's this really
okay.
good natural back and forth with that.
Yeah, and I am very passionate about the things I do. Like, somebody asked me the other day what my hobbies were. I don't really have hobbies, because I put so much into work, and then now YouTube, and now family, that kind of thing. Um, so that kind of tracks as well. Sometimes it does feel like it's not an irritation or anger as much as it's impatience, because I feel like there
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of things that are up in the air that haven't quite landed,
Mm-hmm.
and not quite sure which to go after first. So that kind of tracks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, so now we have each direction, and then you actually have an extra card that came out too. But so your center right
Okay.
here, this would be your spirit energy. Okay.
Okay.
So this could mean a few different things. This could be even like one of your guides coming through. But you had two. You had two come through. You had the Page of Wands, and then you had the Queen of Pentacles. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll start here though. We'll start with the Queen of Pentacles. This is the energy and the message to really flourish at home and projects you're doing at home right now.
Okay.
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 And that's really like the big, when we go to that center card with with every single direction we hit to that center spirit. This is kind of what your spirit is needing, wanting, or the advice that's coming through,
Or almost
from a
even
higher
even a
source.
needing or craving, maybe? Would those be the right words
Yes,
too?
yes.
Okay. Okay.
Anything like that. Also, I feel as though I like the Queen of Pentacles too because she's kind of really nurturing and laid back. However, though, she's got a lot of creativity as well.
Okay.
And then you had an extra card come out too, which is the Page of Wands.
Is that normal for an
So,
extra card, or is that something unusual?
no, it doesn't happen all the time.
Okay.
It doesn't happen
Okay.
all the time. So, however, though, so the Page of Wands is pages are messengers, okay? So expect good news soon. This is what this card is telling me through your
Okay.
reading, okay? So
Okay.
expect good news, either through email, from an actual person, a phone call, whatever the case may be. It's just a little note there. Hey, you got some good news coming your way,
Oh,
because
good.
the Page of Wands is the bringer of good, positive news. So
Good. 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 Okay, awesome. So this is how a typical reading goes, right? When if someone
yes,
just says,
exactly. And then let's say, you were like, okay, well, can you tell me, a little bit extra about, my romance, right?
okay,
So so right in front of me, let's say right now. So look, I happen to have this extra deck of cards. This is like a romance oracle, okay? So
okay,
I'll oftentimes mix it up in like, a reading or something. Like, okay, let me pull from this little romance oracle, see if there's any, messages about love, your love
sure,
life or something like that. And we'll pull
sure,
an extra card.
okay,
And so ascending. So if
okay,
I'm reading this, okay, you see it says transcending
mm-hmm,
obstacles, learning expansion, a new phase, and preparing for union. Okay, so I would say this is kind of goes along with what you've been talking about you and your husband, and the things you've been working on. Um, I feel as though that you two are kind of rising above any obstacles that do come in your way, and that there is like almost this feeling of a new phase for the both of you together.
okay, okay.
So
That's kind of awesome. Well, we are
right?
about out of time, and I want to be respectful of your time. But if anybody's got a question that they want to jump in real quick,
Yeah, of
always
course.
you can catch the Clumsy Clairvoyance on her channel as well as if you can catch her live and replays. I would suggest you listen to the replays because the replays are just as interesting as the live.
Yes, and if there's someone in here who's like, hey, I just want a quick question. Once you see him up, or you can leave a comment in the comment section, and I will get to it. Okay, I might not get to it right away, but I will get to it and try to answer you. And you can also send me an email too, which
Yes,
is on the channel information and all
and I'll
that.
put that in the comments after the stream as well. I did put your PayPal as well as your YouTube channel in the comments, and it looks like Allegra's been posting that as well. So,
Yeah.
final wrap up, I guess. What? Yes, please, John D. I always forget to say the YouTube things of like and subscribe. I am about to also do some members only things, so that's coming up as well. So, what do you have coming next for you?
So coming next is actually I've been thinking about exploring doing a stream with any, bringing in kind of a live panel with
Okay.
an audience. But for those that want to learn tarot, some basic 101s on tarot, getting to know the cards,
Oh,
or
that would
if
be
you just,
awesome.
yeah, or if
Yeah.
you just want to know more about tarot in general, our conversations can veer a lot sometimes in chat. And I'm kind of, I'm craving that, wanting to take it like a little bit to the next step, not just lives, but also doing like, little tarot exercises with people and kind of showing people the diversity in tarot, how we can use tarot and magic, how we can use it for meditation, the
I
types
would
of
be
you.
interested in that because the big thing is meditation. When I do it, I do better and I sleep better. When I
Mm-hmm.
don't, it
Oh,
things don't go as well. So yeah, the meditation
yeah.
piece would be very, very interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm wanting to kind of make that next step and start doing, stuff like that, and kind of showing others just everything you really can do with tarot. You can also connect with your ancestors with tarot. There's so much. There's so
Really,
many different things. Yes. There's so many different things you can do with tarot. And sometimes I feel like I have all this knowledge, and I'm like, I don't know, but everyone's gonna want the lies. Everyone's gonna want the reading. So it's kind of like, but it's up to me to take that time and start planning those out. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what's next, though. So
Well, and really, you're taking your gift and you're passing it on because anyone you can, kind of teach to do what you do, and then they do it with somebody
mhm.
else, and that passes on we use the word magic, probably not the right word, but at least the gift of, more information. Because the more information we have about
Mhm.
ourselves and about the world around us, I think can do nothing but help.
Yes, and
Absolutely.
there's so it's almost like an intuitional awareness for others too. That's why I tell people too. I'm like, hey, even if you're not into tarot, you could trust me. There are people in my chat who have never been into tarot at all. There's some people who just sit in there and like they'll just chat here and there, and I'll. Some people won't even ask for a card, and I'll read them a card anyway. And they're like, "I didn't ask for one." I'm like, "Well, oh well, you're in my chat. You're getting one." You know what I mean?
Something wanted me to give you one. Yep, absolutely. All right, I'm going to thank my guest, the Clumsy Clairvoyant. Make sure you check her out. Thank you guys for joining. I will be back live next week. I'm going to be out of town, so I haven't disappeared. When I disappear out of lives and chats, people are like, "Where'd you go?" I actually have to catch a plane in the morning, but I'll be back a little bit later. But I would love to have you come back at some point
Yes, yes.
and
If you
kind of
ever want to
do this again.
do, yeah, and if you ever want to do a members only, like, and I could do readings for your members only, if you ever want to plan for something like that, I will
That would
totally
be
volunteer.
awesome.
I will volunteer my time for those.
That would be awesome. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Well, as you hear me say a lot, thank you for coming on. Please stay safe out there, and good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world, and take care.
All right, bye.